What's going on, everybody? My name's Tim Williams. We're here to break down another MLB DraftKings slate. Forget about yesterday. Yesterday was junk. Congratulations to anybody that took Reds hitters, Baltimore hitters. You definitely got it. You earned it. Now we're on a brand new day. We got a 7-game slate here. We got the Mets making their debut. Let's just jump right into it. Boom, right into the presentation we go. So yeah, that first game, Mets, Phillies. Mets are favored here. The lowest over/under slate by far. You got deGrom pitching against Matt Moore. deGrom seems like the early lock. I swear he's probably going to be 90% owned, 80% owned. Judging by the rest of the pitchers on the slate, there's no reason not to fade him, especially in cash. Don't be silly. But in GPPs, I think it's deGrom, and then you just where you get that leverage is that SP2. So deGrom looks solid here. I'd pay 15K for him, to be honest. Going against the Phillies, who strike out a ton so far. Small sample size, not spring training. There's 6 overall in strikeouts. We knew that coming in. The Phillies like to strike out, man. In play on the Mets side, and who knows, the Mets could come out kind of sluggish. They haven't played in a few days. I won't probably stack the Mets here. Matt Moore actually looks okay. And it's kind of gross to say, but that price is decent too. So like he might be a guy. This might be just a matchup you just take pitcher 1 and 2 here. But Mets in play, Francisco Lindor, 4.8K. That's way too cheap for him. He's 8 for 13 against Moore with a home run. Has not struck out against him at all. I love him in this spot. Alonso, 4.8K, too cheap. Conforto, Nimmo, not bad options either. But I like the one-offs here more than the stack. On the Philly side, I don't want any part of this hitting. Harper would probably be the only guy, 5.4K, but that's probably too expensive going against deGrom. However, he is 11 for 38. That's a 289 average, 2 home runs, but he's also struck out 13 times there. So I give the advantage to deGrom here. McCutchen's okay, 3.5K. If you're really, really, really trying to get contrarian, not in cash, but in GPPs, those big tournaments, fine play, but I'd look elsewhere. Next, we got the Rays and the Red Sox. The Rays are favorited here. Red Sox, it's going to be kind of a cooler night. I don't think the bats are going to be swinging all that well on either side. But if I were to choose a team or stack a team, it would definitely be the Rays. They're favorited 9.5 over under. Where we stand now, Waka going against Pivetta. I don't like the pitching matchup all that much. Waka, kind of an interesting play, I would say. So I guess there is potential there. I would probably fade Pivetta in this spot. But on the Rays side, like things seem to start to be clicking here. I like Satsuko, especially if he's leading off at 2.9K. That's way too cheap. Meadows, 4.4K, way too cheap. Lau has power potential. I don't know. He's been sitting some games here and there. So I don't know. Kiermaier, I like the value a lot. Randy Rosarina, probably a fade for me, but I like a little bit of a stack here on the Rays. The Red Sox are struggling, and if we know that they can't pitch, but we know that they can hit. So I think the Red Sox hitting will go under owned, so you could possibly look there. They got to break out sometime, right? But the guys are just priced kind of just right. There's no real value there. I like maybe Franchi Cordero at 2.9K. That's way too cheap for his power upside. So I lean Rays here. Next, you got the Brewers-Cubs. This is might be the most chalky matchup of the day, depending on ownership and stuff like that. I like the Brewers side. I like the Cubs side. This is clearly the best weather scenario. It's about 70 degrees in Chicago. Winds are blowing out at Wrigley. We know runs are going to be scored. 9.5 over under. I'd probably take the over in this one. Anderson, Trevor Williams. Anderson, I wouldn't take any pitcher in this one, actually. And Trevor Williams is way too expensive. But on the Brewers side, we do know that they like to strike out. But there's power, there's potential in this lineup. I really love this matchup. This is by far the best matchup on the slate. Hiura, 4 for 7 against Williams with 3 home runs. You can't beat that at 4.4K. I love it there. Garcia's way too cheap, probably the cheapest value on this slate at 3.1. Yelich, 5.5K. You're paying for that, but there's maybe he'll go lower owned, and if you're stacking the Brewers, that looks good for you. Colton Wong looks pretty good at the front of the order. And then Navarez at 2.9 is very viable in a catcher spot, especially if you're stacking this lineup. He's been hitting well in spring. He's been hitting well to start the year off. So I love this spot for the Brewers. On the Cubs side, Jake Marisnick is probably one of the best punts on this play. 2.6K. He's 3 for 4 with a homer against Anderson. I love that. Very, very fine punt play. Bryant, Baez, Contreras, they're fine too. They're just priced right. So there's no value really here. Rizzo as well. Jock Peterson is an option as well if he's starting. He's fairly cheap in this matchup, and he's just been crushing the ball in spring. Bryant, 2 for 3 with a home run against Anderson. It's a little something there, but love this matchup. I don't know if I'd full blown game stack this one. I think this is going to be the chalkiest one of the day, and you do want to find leverage against your opponents, but this looks awesome, especially if you're playing cash. Next, you got the Astros and the Angels. Man, oh man, the Astros are back, baby. They are hitting like a force. Home runs, average, on base percentage. They're not striking out. I don't know who they were in spring training. Forget that. This is the Astros that we know and that we love, maybe. I don't know. Angels look pretty decent too. The Angels are actually slight favorites in this one, 9.5 over under. Astros just hitting the ball too well. Angels are hitting pretty good too. If you watch last night's game, that was sick. Really, really fun to watch. Hell of an opening day weekend, I must say. On the Astros side, Tucker, way too cheap, 4.1K. Everybody else priced just about right, maybe a little too expensive. Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez. It's going to be hard to stack this team, especially if you're going Jacob deGrom and like Dustin May or something like that for your pitchers. But Tucker's a great one-off here. The Astros might get overlooked here. So this is a potential matchup I like. Their pitcher, not so much. Luis Garcia, strikeout potential, but just not enough. Not enough there for me to go that low for him. Quintana, he's a contrarian play as well. No one's really going to be rostering him, I would think. Just kind of gross against the Astros. Hitter wise, Jared Walsh, 3.9K looks a little too cheap. Upton, 3.5 is not a bad value either. Trout, Rendon, little too pricey for my liking. However, the pitching matchup's decent. We'll see. I don't know if I lean so much to the Angels side. They played last night, whatever. It's kind of late. But yeah, this is a good game to target as well. Nice high over under. Next, you got the Dodgers A's. I really don't want much part of this game. Dodgers on the road in Oakland, not so much a hitting park, 8.5 over under is not that great. The Dodgers are priced way up. Obviously Betts might be the one-off for me. 3 for 7 against Montas, probably leading off. Bellinger, Seager, too expensive. Lux is probably the value here. On the A side, I don't really have much interest at all. Maybe Jed Lowry at 3K, but probably not. Next, you got the Giants. Padres favorited here, 8.5 over under. I don't really like this game either, mostly because of the game environment. I don't think there's going to be a lot of home runs. I don't know. Pitching's not that great, but as far as SP2 value, DeScalafini, there's definitely a risk there because he's going against the Padres. And then Moreon, I like him, the fact that he can strike guys out, but he's just inconsistent. But he has been pitching well. So 8.1 thousand price tags is a little high for me. But if people are going to go play Dustin May or Carlos Rodon and not going to go to the Padres here pitching wise, I think I like him in that spot because of the K factor. Giants though, Solano, Dubon, punt plays for sure. They're way cheap. But yeah, punt play. I don't know if I would stack this team. I don't think you're going to win if you stack this team. Belt 4K is a good option against lefties. Padres side, Pham, still really nice value at 3.7K. 2.9 for Profar is definitely a viable punt. He has a home run against DeScalafini. Otherwise, the Padres are just way too expensive playing at home. Moving on. Next, you got the White Sox Mariners. This is the last one on this 7-game slate. Rodon, 6.7K. I love that price on him, but I think so will a lot of people for sure. So he's definitely the most valuable pitcher on this slate as far as price. He's looked awesome. The strikeouts are there, but there's so much inconsistency going on. I don't know if I can go there. I'm going to let other people kind of take that route, and then that'll be my leverage. Maybe I'll take some Mariners hitters, maybe I'll go 1, 2, 3, there to find my leverage against people who are playing Rodon. We'll see. Sheffield, I don't like the price on him. He's too inconsistent as well. Strikeouts are there, but on the White Sox side for hitting, they strike out way too much. But however, I'm not going to take Sheffield. You certainly can, but I'm not gonna. Mercedes, Amazing story. He started out 8 for 8 in his career. He's 28 years old. He's definitely still viable. If he is, you got to think about it. If he's going to go high owned, if 15-20% of people are still going to own this guy, he's still cheap, 3K. So if you're playing cash, it's really not a bad, or a 50-50 double up. That's really not a bad route at all. But he might be a guy I might fade today and just go with like Navarez over on Milwaukee and go that route. Better hitting environment tonight for sure for Milwaukee. So Mercedes still a value play, but it just depends on the contest you're going with. For me, probably an easy fade, but everyone else is too pricey. Moncada at 4.7K is not that bad. Abreu's 5.6 is fine. No, they're not going to be highly owned in this one. And then on the other side, Mariners, Haniger's in play, 3.22K is still way too cheap. I mean, this guy, when healthy, looks really, really good. Seager is a fine play at 4.6K. Not optimal for me. I'm not going to stack this team, but like I said, if I need to find leverage, I might pay up for Seager if that's the case. Those are the games. Looking back at it, you can't fade deGrom in this spot. And honestly, this might be a good pitcher spot if you want to go Matt Moore. No one's going to own Matt Moore. I would think maybe the Mets are a little, slow out the gate. We'll see, but Lindor looks like a solid play for sure. Pitching, maybe Waka, the Red Sox are slumping a little bit. Love this game for hitting Milwaukee Cubs for sure. Love this game for hitting Angels Houston division matchup. Dodgers, you're only looking at May, I think, as a pitcher, and that's about it. San Francisco, San Diego, I mean, the hitters are on the San Diego side for sure. And then that Cubs, keep an eye on that Rodon situation. Again, my name is Tim Williams. I'll be breaking down these MLB DraftKings slates, mainly these main contests, but I'll be doing some showdowns and one-offs here and there. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. Like this video if it helped you in any way. I just stoked that baseball's back. Really appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on the way out. Really appreciate it. Peace.